Josh and EC here once again with another quality video. As you all can tell from the title, we are discussing how you can check in with your partner. We feel like checking in with your partner is one of those big things that every couple should know how to do in a relationship.
And there's also multiple ways that you can go about checking in, or at least that we have discovered in our 9-year relationship of different ways that we can check in with each other. And we got some interesting tidbits during our premarital counseling session last year as well. A few gems were dropped that we felt like would be really helpful for anybody who's in a relationship, wanting to be in a relationship. Maybe you're single, but like in the future, you know?
There's different styles to these techniques. Some are short, sweet to the point. Some are a little bit longer and more in depth, but they're all ways to check in with your partner.
So with all that being said, we don't want to be long-winded in the intro. Y'all came for the answers to this question, so let's hop into this video.
Technique number one that we use to check in, we use this over and over and over, and I think we've hit this nail home so many times on this channel, but we're gonna go over it again, and that is Sunday reflections.
So Sunday reflections, actually, we should shout out my mom for this, because this came from her and how she raised me, and then I brought it to us, and then we just stuck with it. Basically, it's asking someone, how are they doing mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and then as a couple, especially since we've been married, financially has been an extra category that we added. The point is for each partner to go in depth about each category. It's really asking how is your person doing, or your family member or your friend, whatever, how they're doing holistically, not just a typical how are you, because that's like everyday conversation, and sometimes people can have like the worst day of their life and say I'm good and they're not. So this forces your partner as well as for you to open up and get a little bit more vulnerable with each other.
I think building off of that point, it's also the responsibility of the answerer to think deep on this question and kind of give a more in-depth answer.
Yeah.
In order for your partner to get to know who you are, where you're at mentally, you're going to have to give more than 2 sentences.
Right.
So within those categories, maybe you can journal throughout the week. Maybe there's some things that happen to you throughout the week you don't want to forget. For the Sunday reflection, you have a little notebook, maybe you can write those down and then bring those to the table when you have these Sunday reflections. But if you don't check in with your partner regularly, then you can lose track of who your partner is over time. Because we all evolve, we all change throughout time. How life hits us in different ways. We come to different conclusions, we come to different epiphanies in our life. So having these regular check-ins of mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, all these check-ins give you a better idea of, okay, where are they at on the emotional map?
It's more than just emotional.
Not holistic map.
Yeah. I do think that we actually did an example of a Sunday reflection like a few years ago, low-key during Vlogmas or something. I'm pretty positive we did, and we can link that video in the description box if you want to see how we go about our Sunday reflections for a little bit more in-depth view.
So technique number 2, we call it the color spectrum. Now this is something that we picked up in premarital counseling, where you associate how you're feeling based on the colors of the color spectrum.
Also, this gem was dropped on us in premarital counseling session specifically because your dad was explaining that it's a quick way to check in with each other, because we told him one of the questions he had asked us is how we check in. We said Sunday reflection, but he was like, okay, as you guys grow, evolve, and kids into the group chat, how are you guys going to stay connected and in tune with each other? And that's when he brought up color spectrum. So rainbow wise, yes, red being like life is great, essentially.
Yes, and it's kind of like on a scale of 1 to 10, you're just using colors, so that way it's a little bit incognito. You can do a 1 to 10 scale if you want. You can do any kind of scale that you really want. We use the color spectrum, so that way it's sort of like undercover, and we're not like posting our emotional state if we're in like a public setting, or maybe even when kids are involved. How we're feeling, we don't want that to kind of rub off on the kids, so maybe we just use a color spectrum. Like, hey, how you feeling?
I'm feeling green today.
Feeling green. So that's sort of in between. Hopefully, if I get this right, the rainbow is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple.
Correct.
Okay, so on that scale, that's where you find your emotional. So if you're like a green or like a yellow, you're sort of just in the middle, in between. If you're orange or red, you're probably on the happy or like it's a good side. And if you're on the blue or purple, you're kind of low down.
This ain't the best part right now. We're not going through the best time.
Like if she said purple, I'd be like, okay, do we need to go talk?
Right.
Or like, do we need to like figure something out? Or if she said it was red, I'm like, do we need to celebrate? You know, so somewhere along those lines, that's how you can do a quick check-in with your partner.
Technique number 3 that we really enjoy is taking walks with no distraction, especially when the weather permits. We are Chi-Town shawties and the weather is not always on our side, but when it is, We try to take advantage.
When you limit the distractions, you just spend time with each other, conversation naturally happens. For some reason, that feels like a foreign concept to people when we talk about that with them sometimes.
What?
Like just distraction in this conversation.
Oh, yeah.
We live in a day and age of a lot of distractions,
Always
whether it
entertaining.
be TV, phones, computers, any kind of technology, outside.
Even your Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Just distracts you.
All those things are distractions when it comes to having a deep-rooted connection or conversation with your partner. So limit all of those distractions and then come together and just have an open conversation. You know, things might dive all over the place. You might ask, how are you doing mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, or you might just stumble across those kind of things. But either way, having undisturbed time with each other is a great way to just get a feel for where each other is at.
Yeah.
Technique number 4, one that we sort of use pretty often
We
now.
dabble.
We dibble
Yeah.
dabble, but using card games.
Yes.
There's a bunch of different like relationship building card games out there. We like, is it called the and?
The and. What was it? The and.
It's the and.
It's the and.
It's like the blank and.
Yes.
It's a really cool card game. They have one for couples, individuals, family members, friends. We usually do the couples one.
Yeah. There's
It-
also the red box. I know we got it from Target, and I think it said couples game. We got it for your parents too.
Oh yeah, there was like some kind of couples dialogue game, just that asks questions, basically to get you to deeper epiphany. Sometimes you don't have the right questions to ask, so the card games help conjure up
Provoke
some good
conversation,
questions.
yeah.
Yeah, and we like those a lot because that's what we find out. Like certain things, like man, I never thought to even ask that question.
Right. That
So,
part.
how did I get to that answer? Well, thanks. We had the good card game in front of us.
And I think what's cool about card games too is typically they are broken down into different categories, whether it be sex, finances, mental, emotional. So you can choose from different categories of what specifically you guys want to talk about. I think that's dope.
And if there's questions in those card games that like maybe you don't have the answers to, you can always put that card off to the side and say, hey,
Yeah.
look, I'm going to revisit this throughout the week, kind of meditate on it, and then I'll have a better answer for you maybe in a couple of days. Technique number 5, we call it a grading system. So you can each create different categories for your relationship and then have the other person give out grades. So maybe romance, acts of service, words of encouragement, something along those lines. You guys get to determine it for yourself within your relationship, but then the other person gets to give you grades based on your performance for the week
Week or month.
or month.
Month
I would
gives
say
a
a
little
month
bit more
probably gives you
breathing
more
room,
time to like
you
figure some
know?
things out.
Yeah.
On a week-to-week basis, that's a little strenuous because weeks
Yeah.
can get blurry.
I think a monthly or quarterly grading system is solid.
Yeah, and then determine what they are. So like romance is probably going to be a big one on there.
Words of affirmation,
Words of
almost
affirmation.
love languages, acts
Yeah.
of service, and then you can add some other things that are personal to
Teamwork,
you.
participation,
Yeah.
financials,
Right.
spending, like those kind of things you can
Cleaning,
get great. Yeah.
if you live together.
Grading systems based on those can open up the door to a much greater conversation of how can I be a better teammate or how can I be a better partner for you. And then when you have straight A's, you know you're on the right track.
Technique number 6 is planning an intimate at-home date night. This is another tidbit similar to the walks where it needs to be no distractions going on. A date night that I determined for us to do, for example, is like similar to Love is Blind. If you've watched that Netflix series before and it had a wall in between each other, I think that's such a cool experience to have with your partner where you guys are asking different questions or playing different games and it's kind of like this distance yet so close type of experience. Either way, that's an example, but planning intentional at-home date nights and then also alternating so it doesn't fall on one person is a way to definitely check in with your partner consistently and stay in alignment with each other.
Our 7th and final technique for checking in with your partner is an emergency phrase or word. So we all realize that relationships aren't perfect and things can sometimes hit the fan. What is your game plan for when that hits the fan? Maybe you're in a party setting, maybe you're in a group setting, but you don't want to alert the entire group that there's something wrong. So develop a code word. Maybe it's, hot noodles. Maybe it's something cold, red, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, just so long as you two understand that word, you know that, okay, maybe we need to retreat for a second, just get by ourselves, regroup, and then we can return. Or maybe something's off. Maybe you notice something in the crowd or something in the waters, whatever, that they didn't notice. And, that little word is like, hey, something's
Be on the
up.
same page.
We're always on the same page.
Yeah.
That is all the 7 techniques that we have for how can you check in with your partner. Any one of these techniques will help you check in. It's really up to you guys how you implement this in your relationship, and this can happen both in your personal relationships, intimate relationships, family relationships, even with yourself.
100%. Also building on that too, I think it's important to state that in this phase of trying to learn and understand and check in with your partner, it is important to listen to understand, not listen to respond. And if you are thinking about responding, this is our honorary mentions.
Honorary mentions,
right?
for sure.
Listen to understand, not respond. But then also, if you do want to respond or you have some type of advice or something, because let's say your partner says, "I'm feeling kind of blue," and then at least from our relationship dynamic standpoint, it's taken a while for, I would say, us to understand each other in this realm, where if I'm bringing Josh a problem or an issue, he wants to immediately like solve it for me. Whereas sometimes I just want him to like listen and hear me out, let me vent, and then I can like get to it.
So what you're trying to say is, before having some of these rebuttals for these different statements, ask the question, do you want me to just listen, or do you want me to
respond?
help?
Yes, or help, or give advice on it. Because sometimes people just want someone to vent to and to express things about different things that are going on in their life.
One more thing that I think we should also mention, when you're having these conversations, it's important to have a safe word. Sort of like we have Miami. Can I be Miami with you? This kind of opens the door to saying, this is a safe space for me to speak my truths. I can't wiggle around this.
No
I can't
sugarcoating.
sugarcoat it.
Yes.
I just have to get the point across.
But keep in mind that it's all love. This is coming from someone who truly loves and cares about you. And you got to let go of the ego part to hear them out for real.
Yes.
Yeah.
An important part of being an effective communicator is to listen with intent. She mentioned it before, but you got 2 ears, you got 1 mouth. Listen twice as much. And when they're doing like the Sunday reflections, which are usually more long-winded, maybe have a pen and paper. If there's something that really sticks out to you, write it down so you can't forget that note.
Instead of cutting them off.
Instead of cutting them off and
Yeah.
trying to steer off their conversation, to say, okay, I'll make a note of that. We'll revisit that point once you're done.
Yes. Now I think we're done.
Okay, so now saying all that, I think we're done. So take all that stuff, implement it in your own relationships. Let us know how it goes down in the comment section.
Also, if you guys have any effective ways that you check in with your partner that we have not mentioned, would love to see that in the comment section below too. It can help us, it can help others. We're here as a community to build off of each other.
Yep, so let's make some healthy relationships in 2023 and beyond. But if you don't already know, I'm Josh, she is EC. Together we are the Woos. Other than that, that's all we have for this video. So until we meet again, y'all,
Peace, love,
head grease,
and we out.
Thinking of an animal, say the first one that comes to your mind in 3, 2, 1. Cat. Giraffe.
You didn't even give me my mind time to compute.
That's
what the
good.
question
That's
was.
good. That's good. That's good. So you got giraffe.
I'm thinking about it.
Of all animals, giraffe is up there on that spectrum. Like, nah, I just didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of.
Nah, I'm thinking
Okay,
of.
what are you thinking of?
I'm thinking of a color. I'm thinking of a color.
Okay, say it in the first thing that comes to mind.
3, 2, 1, green.
Yes! Yeah!
Did you see my mouth doing it?
No.
Alright.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Let's go.
Okay. Wow, that was good.
I almost said pink, I almost said red. Something maybe we switch to green.
Why did I, in my head, think pink and red?
For real?
For real. I was like, she's probably gonna say red or navy pink. And I was like, she was gonna switch it up. So let me
Well, fine. This is the defining factor. And then let's go.
Out of 3, out of